Aries, just in time for your Aries July 2020 reading, and it's great to see you subscribers back. In fact, for you subscribers, I've just been doing quite strong meditations, sending lots of energy and healing towards you, so you will feel that when you go through this reading. Now, it's a storm brewing outside for me, which means it's likely to be rain, so that's good. I like doing readings in the rain, and in fact I've done readings for a number of years since last month as well, haven't I? Been great to see you in the readings, and thank you also for referring me to your friends. If you would like to have a personal reading, then just check out the information in the description box, and that will show you how easy it is for you to make that happen. Okay, let's go and see here all the subscribers for Aries. We have great fun here, don't we? I also want to say hello to Cleopatra. You were in my intentions there. Cleopatra and Aries has been recently through a medical procedure and is recovering. And this energy will help you do that, Cleopatra. Now let's see what there is in store for you, shall we? Let's see what's here. Justice. Now, I always use astrology in my readings, and these cards also have Nordic runes and ancient Hebrew letters and Chinese I Ching in them, some of them anyway, so we'll look at those if they happen to show up. There's an I Ching there, actually, and there's the Five of Cups. So this is the Daughter of Swords in the South. It looks like you were wanting to come out, whoever you were. Let's see what that might be. The Lovers. Certainly time for you to be having the Lovers, I think. All the world loves a lover, doesn't it? Ah, lovely. Brahma, the father of wands in the east. Okay, let's get the show underway and let's get this reading done for you. Okay, can you see? Now I'm not going to use these playing cards. They're really just there to provide energy. I'm going to look first. We're only going to look at the tarot, and I'm going to look at this card here first. I think that this is a month which is going to be focused on relationships for you. There may be some heated times, but the message coming through generally is to work on the small things. Don't try and do the big things all at once, but let's see how these cards individually unfold. This is, of course, the card of the Lovers, Major Arcana number 6. Well, the Lovers cross arms behind a cup. In the sky is a spear, a unicorn, and a rose within a Star of David. Now, a Star of David is just one of the very many sacred geometrical patterns. And these two trees here, I think, are the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, referenced in the Garden of Eden, and you can see them in the book of Genesis, the first book of the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament, and they'll be referred to in chapter 2, verse 9 from memory. So we have also here the woman's hair. Now that's interesting looking at her hair, isn't it? Because the hair is like pitted rock, a sign of the antiquity of human sexual traditions. The ground shows the earthiness of the love. The unicorn and the rose reflect its mystical qualities. And just while I'm looking at this here, I'll get onto this Hebrew letter in a second, but this is an ancient rune. This is from the Elder Futhark. That's the oldest known alphabet of the Norse. You know, the Vikings. And this is Ashish. Now, Ashish basically refers to protection, and it's a very good sign for the warding off of evil. It also talks about you holding on to things that you have earned or won, and it is a time when things will not be taken away from you. But let's look back at the card itself in the context of the others. So the Lovers, the children of the voice divine, the oracle of the mighty gods, it is for me Mercury ruling Gemini with Dragon's Head exalted. Dragon's Head being the north node of the moon. Well, the meaning of this card, I think, centers around the reconciliation of opposites. I think there's going to be a need for you to look at all angles before making a decision.
There is a very strong possibility, I hear, that you may well be called upon to become a peacemaker or a mediator, because you're going to have a very strong gift for understanding opposition, for understanding paradox, for understanding duality. And I think there's also here a need for you to look at harmony in your relationships. There is a need, I think, for you to make quite a major life decision. And you look back at this time and you'll say, I can recall when that happened, and it was at this point. Now, there may well be a mutual sexual connection, but this is a major arcana card, and I don't think it's going to be something like a one-night stand. There is, in some respects, you feeling like you're at a crossroads. You could be going into a project or business with some other people. Sometimes you can refer to falling in love or commitment in relationship settings, and so it's not unusual to come across either yourself or to hear of an engagement. It's a time also when you can hear of people breaking up, and there may well be a divorce or a separation that you hear of, which is quite unexpected, I think, during this period here. There is a great strength that you will have for dealing with people of all ages, I think. Now, if you're not a therapist, then you would make a very good therapist, because you will have a great ability to get into other people's headspace and really understand what it is that's making them tick. It can also refer to, well, for those who happen to be in the fortunate position of choosing between two lovers and torn between two lovers. We'll look quickly again at this Hebrew letter that's here. Now, the Hebrew letters do have a great degree of spiritual association with them, I have found. Now, in this card here, this letter from the ancient biblical Hebrew is Zayin, and it's sort of shaped like a sword, and it's the symbol of spirit, of sustenance and struggle. Now, it actually represents the seventh day, the Sabbath, if you like, the day of rest and spirituality, which completes in the Jewish and Christian tradition the process of the 6 days of creation. It includes the 6 days and 6 directions of physical reality, but also stands as a unique 7th principle or energy, the spirit, which activates the physical. The Zayin is the source of all movement. It is an impregnating principle which activates the creation. Now, shaped like a sword, as I say, the Zayin represents all movement. It represents the struggle between opposites. And we have this Gemini symbol here, so we have this duality that's here. See, when we're in spirit, we are one, and then when we come into this plane, when the spirit is activated in flesh or in matter, there is duality for the first time. And there's male, there's female, there's hot and cold, there's human and plant, there's water, there's fire, there's earth, there's air, all these different things which are separate from one another. And it represents also the struggle for existence. It is the power within you that causes you to speak, to initiate things, to live. And interestingly, I think Zayin is also the source of rest, and it teaches you to harmonize between the spirit and perfection related to the 7th day of rest and the matter of the 6 days of work. Now, there's an interesting card, also major arcana underneath it, which is this card of justice. Now, let's have a look at it, shall we? Here it is, justice. Justice. What can I get from this? 2 separate images of balance are made by the scales in the foreground and the peacock feathers The scales hang from an invisible holder, unchanging, the cosmic balls suspended above the pans of the scales. Now, I think that this signifies that justice always exists in the universe as a perfect principle. The feathers exist in a much more precarious balance. A breath of wind would disrupt them. In the world of ordinary existence, this could well happen. Justice often seems, in the world of ordinary existence, also to be remote. The feathers appear rooted in a tree trunk, don't they? And this suggests that spirit does not exist apart from nature. Their eyes signifying seeing your own emotions. Now, I see what we have here is, this is actually very interesting to come up after that first card here. Now, I've got Venus here ruling Libra. Venus, the card of beauty, harmony, also of business. And I have Saturn exalted. So Saturn in its really good sense, where Saturn is bringing about good lessons. And Libra emphasizes that the energy of this card is all about balance and equilibrium. The ox goad comes into it here with this letter, Lamed. There's an ox goad coming in here, and I'll get to the letter in a second. And that is like a cattle prod, and it implies that as an ox is restricted by the cattle prod, so it implies that this card is about self-control, I think. This card is the daughter of the lords of truth, the ruler of the balance, and is talking here of justice, balance, adjustment, suspension of action, pending decision, and objectively standing back. See, as you go through this process of maybe needing to make this decision, it also talks about marriages, and it can talk about lawsuits as well. I have this thought in mind when this card appears, and it is, I am balanced and centered. I honor my word. I value being truthful in a difficult situation. The abundance of beauty of nature is a reflection of my own nature. It really is quite an exquisite energy that comes through from here. It can represent cutting through the dross, and I've noticed that there is this card of Isis here, which is coming through here as well, so that's an energy that's coming about. And the shadow aspect of justice is also influencing perceptions and may often make you feel that things aren't actually being fair, but it can represent leadership, and it requires constant assessment of a situation, I think, that is tending to something. Now, I mentioned this figure of Lamed. Let's have a look at it here. Kind of sticks up. Interesting thing. It's the 12th letter of the Hebrew alphabet and is the symbol of learning. Actually, it's translated literally as the word for learning, and also, as I say, as that staff or goad that's used for prodding goats or cattle. And it indicates that spiritual learning is the heart of human existence. Your course in life is to learn and express spiritual teachings and practice with every breath of life. Now, Lamed as a letter reaches higher than any of the other Hebrew letters, like a lighthouse in the air. And the shape of the letter is an undulating movement, and the Lamed represents constant organic movement, constant change. Lamed is the lightning strike of energy descending down the two sides of the tree of life that we saw in this card here. I think what you're going to do is start to learn the spiritual perception of yourself and the ways of the Creator. And this is the process of learning to align yourself with that of the Creator. So what then do you say is this rune that's here? You see this one on the corner here? Looks like a cross, doesn't it? Well, that is a letter called Gabo. And it talks of gifts, both in the sense of sacrifice and of generosity, indicating balance. All matters in relation to exchanges, including contracts, but particularly personal relationships and partnerships. And it's a very good time for these things, and it's a good time for you to be spending time on such things. Now, here we have somebody here, the daughter of swords in the south. Where is she? Can we see her? This is a representation of the very important ancient Egyptian goddess of Isis. Now, I think when I mentioned in the introduction, as we were pulling the cards, Isis was married to Osiris, who was the lord of the death, who would bring people through into resurrection, in a sense. She also brought him back to life. He was killed by a jealous brother. And Isis had the child with Osiris called Horus, who have you heard of? And Horus is often depicted with that all-seeing eye. But here, let's have a look at the image. Her hair falls like water, doesn't it? She is mother of pharaohs. An abstract throne crowns her. Above her third eye, the cobra connects the king to spiritual powers. Now down here we have Hathor, the cow goddess, on the right. She is the goddess of love, of dance, and ecstasy. A very powerful figure, confident, and I would say very dynamic. So I think that you will be powerful, dynamic, and confident during this period. But in addition to that, I can also see her as, to me, really representing the princess of the rushing winds, really being the princess of the rushing winds, the lotus of the palace of air. I think that Aquarius, Pisces, and Capricorn are going to be important to you during this period. Now, this is a young woman, although I say that these court cards can be both male and female, but someone who can be quite stern and revengeful, firm and aggressive, or you may want to feel this way. But certainly she's a person who is skilled in the ways of the world. Now, her character is quite stern, and her logic can be destructive. She is firm and aggressive, with a great practical wisdom and subtlety in material things. She shows, I think, great cleverness and dexterity in management of practical affairs. And didn't I say that you may well be called upon to be a peacemaker? This is a period, this is also backing that up to say that you will have a good sense of what is the common sense thing to do in sorting things out. But this is particularly where controversy rules. But be careful that your way of analyzing things is not destructive at all. Now, if it's somebody else, in some respects, it's a person who can kind of attract troubles to themselves and be unhappy when it comes to material affairs. All the finer qualities of air are weighed down and suffocated, and these people appear as children of misfortune. But the person can throw everything overboard, much to the surprise of people. And they can blow everything sky high. But ultimately, it turns out that they have chosen correctly. So I think that you're going to be very clever in practical matters. You might have the tendency to be aggressive and vengeful, but you'll have the ability to get things grounded in a tangible way. If it's someone else, I think you'll find that they may well be fighting battles both internally and externally. Maybe their moods are clouding their mental clarity. They might need a mood filter so that their moods can be kind of translated into something which is more common sense. You'll be very adroit in the settlement of controversies. And you may well have a great desire to follow your own bent rather than serve the aims or ambitions of someone else. And I think that it might well be that you ultimately have chosen the right thing to do. Now, this could well be following your heart or following a lifestyle, maybe becoming a small business person. Although now probably is not the best time to do that, but you can certainly get the seeds of it underway. Okay, here we have this very beautiful energy that's here. A beautiful energy indeed. This is described as being Brahma. Now, what can I say about Brahma? Brahma is the creator in the Hindu Trinity, I suppose. Brahma is the creator, there's Vishnu, that's the preserver, and then there's Shiva, who is the destroyer, the rebuilder. Now, Brahma here has 4 arms representing power beyond human limitations. His 4 faces seem to blend. The cord on his chest and the white cloth signify the priestly class of the Brahmins. A scroll in one hand is a religious law book, I suppose. A cup holds milk, and a spoon is to stir the milk over the sacred fire. I might also call him the Lord of Flames and Lightning, you know. People of importance to you this period are likely to be Sagittarius and Scorpio, in addition to those I mentioned earlier. This is talk about activity, generosity, impetuosity, some degree of pride, but certainly swiftness and a fierceness that's there. The question is whether this swiftness and fierceness is something that is going to lead to something that's good or bad. This is the king of the spirits of fire, the lord of flames and lightning, as I say. Energy and ambition, adventurous, determined, charming and quite magnetic is how I think that you'll be coming across, and you will as a result be quite hard to resist. And I think that there is, again, I'm getting this feeling of a budding entrepreneur. Finding your own vitality, trusting your gut instincts, letting your hair down, giving yourself a pep talk, believing that you can do it. Seek out those situations and opportunities that challenged you. Engage with all of your energies. Does your present situation allow your energies to develop and unfold fully? And if not, what must be removed or changed? Be awake, ready for people or situations which could produce dynamic changes in your consciousness. Be grateful for this gift from existence. Receive it. But don't cling to it. And have this thought in mind: every challenge which arises helps me grow. Every storm strengthens my roots. Now, there may well be journeys or traveling here. Possibility of a change of job or change in responsibilities within a job. I do see your creative ideas being brought into action and you having the courage of your convictions. And then there's a very interesting card here, which is the 5 of Cups. Let's have a look at the 5 of Cups, shall we? Now, 5s can have a degree of instability associated with them, as you probably know. Now, what we have here is the water. It's a thin stream, isn't it? and that's kind of disappointing. A single cup catches the water, and so the experience, whatever it is, which may be disappointing, has not been wasted. There is a sense here in the imagery for me that there's something of a loss in pleasure. Now, astrologically, I have Mars ruling the first decan of Scorpio, that 23rd of October to the 2nd of November. Now, we'd expect to have a positive aspect to this because in classical astrology, Mars rules Scorpio. But it's also taking place, this astrology, in this number 5. And as I say, there's instability associated with 5. But Mars is also aligned with the number 5 for me in sacred numerology. So it's taking place against a 5 backdrop. Mars in Scorpio against a Mars backdrop. And this adds extra fire. And the energy imbalance has, I think, fire evaporating the water. So there's a sense of unfulfilled expectations, loss or lost sense of balance, really, problematic relationships, or some unsuspected and unexpected disturbances. Now, you may be thinking, oh, but I prefer to have this particular outcome than that particular outcome. And in that sense, maybe something isn't going to work out as you at first expected. But this is saying don't wallow around in self-pity and regret, because new and better experiences are in store. And I'll get to this I Ching in just a second. Now, there's a possibility, I suppose, that as a result of this, you become sort of disillusioned. But you shouldn't do. It could be that you are feeling disappointed by somebody else's actions. And if that is the case, then find it in your heart to forgive them, because forgiveness releases you. It doesn't release the person who is forgiven. Now, the feelings that have surfaced when this card appears can sometimes tend to give rise to fear of taking another action, or fear of taking another risk, or of making an effort in the future. You sort of hide away in some place where you can't be disappointed again, but this is very much an energy which is saying that you should not do that. It's possible that there was a previous disappointment, but yesterday is previous, and yesterday is not now. The now is where you live. Look back to something that happened within a period of 5 months or 5 years, and see if there's any similarity in what's going on there. But your soul is urging you to release the disappointment. And as I say, maybe forgiveness is called for, because it is the act of forgiveness that releases the forgiver. You are in chains until you forgive. And we're going to have a look at this I Ching. How the I Ching works is that the unbroken lines represent masculine and the broken lines represent feminine. These things usually appear as a block of 6 lines or a hexagram. Now, they can be read either individually or in couplets or in 2 lots of 3. When you have 3 unbroken lines, is that what it is? Yeah, 3 unbroken lines. 3 unbroken lines by itself means heaven. So we have something really here that's sitting above heaven. Now, this, I'm going to read it as a 6 because I think it's particularly important for you in this card, and given the energy that has surfaced. This I Ching is Cao Chu, which means small restraint. The action really is surrender. Because of the one weak yin line, I say weak, it's a feminine line, but it doesn't mean to say that feminine is weak. But because of this one broken line here, holding the 4th place among the strong yang lines, we see the idea how something small or weak can tame the powerful. And how often have we seen the female tame the powerful male? Yin is the gentle influence operating in Tao that magnetizes the powerful yang. The feminine side of courtship shows how a strong element can be held in check through gentle submissiveness. In small restraint, power is accumulated by gently withholding its expression. Now we see this in the coming soon advertising that creates an anticipation in us, doesn't it? And also in the mating dance of courtship. At the same time, weakness and insecurity within the psyche can become powerful because it is repressed. You'll need to approach the object of your inquiry with gentle submissiveness to exercise, to discover, or to release your power. Defensiveness ensures that the negative outcome is relentless. Submissiveness always opens new doors for success. So simply surrender to the way. That's the way it is for you this month.
Well, there you go, the month of July 2020, and it looks as if there's going to be great things in store for you, and that's great to hear because you deserve good things to happen to you. You certainly do. Look, you were fantastic during that reading, as you always are, and really, there's really only one thing left for me to say, and it is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.